Good Saturday morning and welcome to Action 2 News this morning. I'm Victoria Frazier. We're taking a live look at Lambeau Field where the Packers will be kicking off their first preseason game tonight. Now, Emily, what can fans expect weather-wise?
Yeah, Victoria. So again, we're in that first alert weather day today for thunderstorm potential, especially strong or severe thunderstorms later on today. All of that is essentially going to be fueled by the heat and humidity we've been seeing. So you can see right now out there, we're already starting to heat up. We're in the upper 70s and low 80s for some. And as the day progresses, we'll continue warming up. It will be hot and humid, but not as bad as what we saw yesterday. The humidity, though, certainly still going to be pretty similar to yesterday. You can see here our dew points in the 70s right now, so very hot and sticky out there, and that will again be fueling our thunderstorm chances. So we do have a flood watch that's in effect for our southern tier of counties there, and that area in particular could be receiving some very heavy rainfall throughout the day today and into the rest of the weekend as well. So that severe threat is mostly going to be later this afternoon and into the evening. You can see all of our counties here included in that medium risk of seeing severe weather. And if we check out our radar, you can see that closer to Wausau at this point, some strong thunderstorms pushing through. There is a severe thunderstorm warning associated with that, headed more towards the Rhinelander area. So at this point, this is still outside of our coverage area, but we are getting in there pretty close. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this and, of course, providing those updates if this thunderstorm warning does get extended into some of our counties. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming. I haven't.
Really?
I would.
I was supposed to go up on one before, but weather conditions got in the way. And it looks like, unfortunately, that might be the case today. We're definitely tracking out some storms right now.
Yeah, certainly. We're already seeing some pushing closer towards us this morning, but later on will really be our main concern.
Alrighty, well, we're going to take a deeper look into that forecast when Action 2 News returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This morning we're keeping an eye on some thunderstorms that are mostly out towards our west at this point, but eventually will be making their way a little bit closer towards us. So at this point there is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is closer to Wausau, Merrill, and Rhinelander, so still out of our viewing area, but we are getting pretty close to it. This is moving in this kind of northeast-east direction, closer to around 40 miles an hour. So not a super quick moving storm, and that's part of why flooding is going to continue to be a little bit of a concern with this. So I don't necessarily expect this to hold together as well as it is right now as it continues to push towards our counties. Really an indication of that is what we're seeing near Wausau at this point. So you can kind of see where this line is getting ahead of itself a bit, pretty much right at the edge of that severe thunderstorm warning. And so when that happens, that's kind of indicating to us that this is starting to break up. It's starting to lose that steam. So I do anticipate that pattern to continue as this moves closer to us, but certainly we will be keeping a close eye on things. Later on this afternoon will be more when we're concerned about severe weather in our area. We'll talk a little bit more about that timing coming up. Victoria?
Joey, thanks. We're taking a live look at Oshkosh, where Crossroads 41 is happening later today. Emily Merz is in the First Alert Weather Center with your forecast. Hey, Emily.
Yeah, Victoria. So in that first alert weather day today, because of severe thunderstorm potential, and if you're looking out the window right now, you're probably thinking, Emily, what are you talking about? It is sunny. It is a nice day so far, but things are going to be changing. You can see here on our first alert Viper Max out towards our west. I'll actually zoom out a little bit more on this too. Out near Wausau in that line up towards Rhinelander, a lot of thunderstorms going on, but I will say this is starting to lose steam. That severe thunderstorm warning that we were watching has been expired. There is still plenty of thunder and lightning, but it's certainly becoming a bit more messy, which indicates to us that wind will be a little less of a threat and that severe weather again will be less of a threat. That doesn't mean it won't still be strong though by the time it reaches us, but again, I do expect this to start to lose some steam as it moves closer into our viewing area. This will be one to certainly watch, and then later on today is going to be more so when our main threat of seeing severe weather occurs. So jumping into our first alert pinpoint predictor here, and if you've been following along, especially if you were watching our show earlier this morning, this is the same weather model that we were looking at earlier, but with the recent update, and you'll see just how different how much it's changed just in the last few hours. So this has that system really dissipating by the time it makes it into our viewing area. However, it kind of combines right into the redevelopment that we were expecting later on. So what that would mean for us is that we could potentially be seeing that severe weather threat a little bit earlier in the day, but that would also put that severe weather threat a little earlier location-wise, timing-wise, so it would put it in more central Wisconsin. This model also kind of has these storms later on this afternoon remaining into the north woods, but then also redeveloping back down south again. This still gives us that same sort of time frame with that 3 to 4 p.m. Range for storms making it into the Green Bay area, but you can see here it's a lot less widespread. Into the evening, it does show a little bit more development for those southernmost counties, and that also could be an indication of that severe threat continuing. So as you've noticed, it's a little bit of a different trend than originally thought, and this is all really going to depend on how this first line plays out. If it holds together through this morning, it's very likely that we won't see that redevelopment until later on, which is what those earlier models were suggesting. And then, of course, also vice versa. If we see that line of storms break up by the time it makes it to us, it's certainly possible we could see this kind of re-triggering and re-getting going a lot quicker. So this is definitely a fluid situation, and there's a lot of elements in here that may or may not make this happen at different times of the day. So all in all, it's really important to have a way to receive these alerts, especially if you're going to be outside today, because this could change again, as we've seen just through this morning. So by later on today, this is again when that severe threat would be happening, and this one also has these storms sticking around a little bit later. So this would have us into around 8, 9 p.m. potentially, and then from there that does clear out and it shows us having a drier evening and into our Sunday. So that's a lot of information to digest. All in all, just be aware that that thunderstorm potential does continue through today, but the exact timing of things is what is very still uncertain. So those strong and severe storms, again, wind is going to be our main concern. Heavy rain also a possible hazard. That'll continue overnight, and then we'll likely see another stormy day tomorrow, but not as much of a threat for severe weather. We'll likely see some thunderstorms into early next week.
Action 2 News this morning starts now with First Alert Weather.
Good Saturday morning, and thanks for sticking with us on the Action 2 News. We're taking a live look at Lambeau Field because today is the first preseason game of the Packers season. Now, Emily, we are on a First Alert Weather Day, so what should fans look out for tonight?
Yeah, the biggest thing to really know is that our forecast for later on, we are expecting some thunderstorms and some showers, some of which may be strong or severe. The question is, and the uncertainty is still about the timing and the location. So if you're headed out to Lambeau today, be paying attention to those forecast updates. If you've been following along this morning, I talked about how every update of our weather models that we look at has been, I'm not going to say completely different than the last, but there have been some major changes just in the last couple of hours. And a lot of what happens later is dependent on what happens this morning. So it's really hard to give that solid, confident forecast as far as the exact timing. So really take it with a grain of salt. And if you are headed out to Lambeau, just pay extra close attention to those updates as the day progresses. So before we get there, our temperatures today are making it into the 80s already, and we will be pretty hot and humid through today again, but it won't be as bad as yesterday. Our dew point's currently sitting in the 70s, so very, very humid out there, and that will be fueling this next thunderstorm chance. We do have a flood watch that is in effect from later today through Monday for that southern tier of counties, and then we are all included in that medium risk of severe weather later this afternoon and into the evening. We'll talk a little bit more about the timing and all of the details of this coming up in just a couple minutes. Victoria? Welcome back. We're tracking some thunderstorms moving closer to our area at this point. Everything is sub-severe, so not necessarily at that criteria to see severe thunderstorms. And another thing that we notice here is that this line has kind of broken into two different lines now. So especially from Wausau South, the fact that this is kind of broken off indicates that this is losing a little bit of steam. So by the time this pushes into our counties, I don't necessarily think it will hold together quite as much as it is now. That being said, though, depending on how this plays out, this could essentially just mold right into the next development that we're expecting later on today. So there is still a lot of uncertainty as far as the timing and the exact way that this will play out. We'll talk a little bit more about the timing and what we do know, all coming up in just a couple of minutes. Victoria?
Is that a Frenchie, right?
I think so.
It's cute.
Yeah.
I like it. And look,
cute.
you have a little cute thing there too.
During
Where's
the break,
mine?
we were healing our inner child.
Yes.
Y'all remember making these?
Little fortune teller thingies. Emily's like, she tapped into our creative side.
I didn't think I would remember how to make one, but
And
I
you did it. I want to learn how to make a paper airplane lake. So see what we come up with after after return, but still ahead. All right, Joey, thanks. It's a First Alert weather day, and we're taking a live look out at, looks like that's Lambeau Field in the background there. Now, Emily, we were playing with our, our fortune teller crafts earlier. Now, it won't tell us what the weather is like. It's blank in here, but I know you can let us know what it's going to look like today.
I know. I was thinking about a way to weatherify my fortune teller, but with today, there's still a lot of uncertainty, so honestly might need the fortune teller to help me out a little bit. But as we go through today, super important to be keeping an eye on those weather updates, especially if you're headed out to Lambeau or any other outdoor activity today. There still is a lot of uncertainty as far as timing and exact locations of all of this, which we'll jump into here in just a second. I do want to highlight, though, on our radar currently, we're seeing some thunderstorms pushing in to Crandon, Anago at this point, Wittenberg. So still just barely outside of our viewing area, but this is moving pretty close to us at this point. So I'll be keeping a very close eye on that through the rest of this morning. And then later this afternoon is more so when that severe threat really starts to get going. So here on our First Alert Pinpoint Predictor, we can kind of look at the timing of things. And as I mentioned in the last half hour, if you've been following along, there have been a lot of changes just in the last couple of hours as far as how things are going to play out. So if this line is able to hold together, what you're about to see might change a bit. We might see a bigger gap in between these rounds, and then the second round later would likely be when that severe thunderstorm potential is. That being said, this weather model has more of that line dissipating, and you can see by around noon, we kind of get the re-establishment of that line, but it's not necessarily going to be in line, no pun intended, with what we're already seeing. So this is kind of a confusing setup and a very interesting one, and I'm curious to see how this does wind up playing out. But this weather model in particular showing these storms pushing in closer to around lunchtime, mostly for the North Woods. And this is kind of where that severe threat would start to ramp up a bit, especially moving towards the Fox Valley and east. This is when we could be looking at some very gusty winds. We could see some smaller sized hail. Tornadoes are not our main concern here, but it's possible. So again, very, very important to have a way to receive those alerts as things are developing. And so closer to around dinner time, this is when this would be dissipating, pushing out of here. And you can see that this weather model has that clearing out a little bit earlier. That being said, this one also shows a lot more redevelopment behind that original line. Whether or not this redevelopment could bring us severe weather really depends on the intensity of that first line, not only the one we just saw here, but also this first line that's currently pushing through more central Wisconsin. So this is a setup that has a lot of caveats. It's a lot of the, if this happens, this may not happen. If this happens, this may happen. So certainly important to take this one with a grain of salt. And again, super, super important to be paying attention to those updates as the day goes on. So again, this one shows us having a little bit of a gap as we get into late tonight and overnight, but then I do expect us to see some more scattered thunderstorms throughout our Sunday. That being said, that development on Sunday is not going to have as much of a severe risk, more so going to be wind and heavy rain. That's definitely the case through tonight, and then thunderstorm potential continues on into Monday and Tuesday as well.
First Alert Weather with meteorologist Emily Merz is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. For the most durable custom-crafted replacement windows, go now to WBAY.com.
Thanks, Victoria. Here's another look at that Super 7-day forecast. As I mentioned, a severe weather threat for later on today. The timing is still very fluid. We are seeing a lot of impacts from the current system that's pushing through, so still a bit of uncertainty as far as the exact timing, but this afternoon will be our best window of seeing that severe weather. So it's super important, as always, to have a way to receive alerts, but especially with the uncertainty that we have with this one.
Alrighty, thanks for that, Emily. It's time now for our birthday club. Happy birthday to Dom. He enjoys taking care of Izzy the dog, working, and he's proud of his cycle hop team placing second in the state Special Olympics at UWO. Birthday wishes from Mom, Nick, Audrina, Danica, cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents.
Happy birthday, Nash. He enjoys fishing and playing basketball, football, and golf. Birthday wishes from Mom, Dad, and all of your friends and family.
Happy birthday to Meryl. He likes to watch the Brewers and the Badgers Friday fish fry, hey now, balling hay, and spending time with friends and family. Birthday wishes from your daughters Amanda and Samantha and all of your grandkids.
Happy birthday to Ren. She enjoys playing with her chickens, playing dress up, and hanging out with her big sister Legacy. Love from Mom, Dad, and your friends and family.
And happy birthday, Bree Lynn. She enjoys swimming, soccer, camping, school, and playing with friends. Birthday wishes from Mom, Dad, Gracie, and Jaden.
And happy birthday, Andrew. He enjoys reading, fishing with friends and family, and making plays on the football field. Happy birthday from all your friends and family.
Alrighty, happy birthday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.